Yeah.
When will Texas finally be back? It may be sooner than you think. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, taking a look at all of the major changes happening down in Austin with Steve Sarkisian becoming the head man at the University of Texas. So today, guys, we are going to be breaking down this new hire of Steve Sarkisian, what he could bring to the table for Texas football, not just in 2021, but in the years to come as well. Before we break down Sarkisian, before we break down his history, his style, and of course, what we give this hire, what grade we give this hire, let's take a look at why Sarkisian is here to begin with. Why is Steve Sarkisian in Austin? Why is he no longer at Alabama? Well, it's because Texas got rid of Tom Herman. And I think that was a surprise to many. You know, we knew that Tom Herman coming into 2020 was on the hot seat. We thought that, he needed a big year, maybe a Big 12 championship type year to get his name off of that list. Well, Texas, of course, disappointed again, as they did a lot under Tom Herman. Herman went 32-18 in 4 years with the Longhorns. He only had one 10-win season. He made just one Big 12 championship appearance and made just one New Year's Six Bowl appearance. Of course, they did win that Sugar Bowl over Georgia. He was 4-0 in bowl games, however. And that was what's so interesting about Texas making this change. Before Texas went into their bowl game against Colorado, before they played Colorado in their Alamo Bowl back in December, Tom Herman was under the assumption that his job was safe. Texas came out and said, hey, we're not going to fire you. We might want to, but we're going to hold on to you at least for one more year. Everybody was under the impression he was safe. Texas went out there, promptly beat Colorado 55-23, so it was a convincing bowl victory, improved his bowl record in Austin to 4-0. And if you looked and watched that game, Texas showed a lot of signs of brilliance. A lot of young stars emerged in that game. Ellinger was taken out of that game. Their quarterback, Casey Thompson, came in, went 8 for 10 for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns. So the future at quarterback already looking bright for Texas. Bijan Robinson put up some monster numbers and had some amazing runs in that game. So offensively, and a couple other key defensive stars across the board in the Alamo Bowl, Texas looked good. Of course, they get a lot of offseason hype. People think they could be back, but they thought, at least I did, hey, Texas might be solid in 2021. Maybe keeping Herman was a good idea. And then a few days later, he's out. Texas has fired him, and they've hired Steve Sarkisian. So it was really a wild and shocking turn of events, I think, in the late December, early parts of January. But here we go. The Tom Herman era is over. I think a lot of people down in Austin are happy about that because he had his chance. He had 4 years. And we always say you got to give new coaches 3 to 4 years to really implement their system and see if they're the right man for the job. Herman was not living up to the expectations that Texas has. They expect to contend for Big 12 titles. They want to beat Oklahoma. They want to be a national program, an elite program that is contending for playoff spots, contending for national titles. And Herman never had Texas in the position to do that. And when he did, he ended up losing at some point. Everything kind of just fell apart. So, Steve Sarkisian's the new man down in Austin. Let's take a look at him. Let's take a look at his history first. It's been a roller coaster of a career for Steve Sarkisian across the board. You watch what he did years ago. 2009, he got his first head coaching gig at Washington. He coached the Huskies from 2009 to 2013, went 34-29 in 5 years there. He then jumped ship, went to USC, stayed in the Pac-12, went to USC, where he went 12-6 in less than 2 years. And it was at USC, guys, where Sarkisian really started to run into some issues. He kind of ran into some problems with alcohol, showed up to practice once very intoxicated. Some coaches believe he actually coached a game intoxicated. He checked himself into a rehab facility, but it was a very, very unfortunate and rough time, I think, for Sarkisian's life and his career in that moment. So he gets fired from USC, relieved of his duties at USC. He then goes to Alabama, serves as an analyst in 2016, served as their offensive coordinator in the 2017 national championship game. He then was the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator for 2017 and 2018, so he jumped ship to the NFL for a brief period of time, then came back to Alabama to serve as their offensive coordinator in 2019, of course, this last year in 2020, where he won the Broyles Award, which goes to the nation's best assistant. He breeded quarterbacks there. Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, just won the national championship over Ohio State with one of the most efficient offenses in the country. I mean, this guy's a genius. The guy's an offensive genius. He has been everywhere, and that's what makes this hire so good for Texas, guys. They've got a guy that has previous head coaching experience at a Power 5 program, 2 Power 5 programs. You have a guy that has NFL experience, recent NFL experience. And you've got a guy that has spent a combined total of 3 years, 2 stints, but 3 total years with the greatest coach in college football history in Nick Saban. You've got a guy that has learned under Nick Saban. And you look, guys, you look at coaches that have learned under Nick Saban and gone on to be very successful as a head coach. Same thing in the NFL. Guys that have worked under Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots who have then taken off to become a head coach somewhere else, and they usually succeed. And that's what's happening here with Steve Sarkisian. And if you don't believe that, just ask Lane Kiffin. He was a guy that many thought was way too immature, was not cut out for the job. He needed some help. Served under Nick Saban at Alabama, jumped ship, became head coach at Florida Atlantic. Now, of course, is the head coach at Ole Miss. He's matured a little bit, brilliant offensive mind, and now he's set up to have a very, very good year. At least many expect him to have a good year in 2021 down in Oxford. So that helps out a guy a lot. It does a lot for a guy when you learn from the best in the business. Sarkisian has benefited from that for 3 years now and has experience all across the board. So let's look ahead to 2021. That's Sarkisian's background, what he's done up until this point. Now he's the head coach at Texas, one of the most storied programs in college football. And again, a program that expects to win and win now. 2021, Texas is shaping up to have a very solid season. I'm not going to say they're playoff contenders right now, but I am going to say they can contend for a Big 12 title right now in 2021. Sarkisian, being the brilliant offensive mastermind that he is, already has a match made in heaven with quarterback Casey Thompson. We saw how well he played in that Alamo Bowl against Colorado. I know it was just one game, but that was a solid Colorado team. And this is a guy that has a heck of an arm. He's a little bit of a dual threat quarterback as well. He's accurate, he's precise, and he's going to work again with the guy that just breeded Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. If you thought he was good against Colorado, he's going to be even better with a whole year working with Steve Sarkisian. You look at the hires that he's made, and that's again just Casey Thompson. Again, you got Bijan Robinson at running back. You've got some defensive players coming back as well, and we'll touch deeper and go deeper analysis on Texas in the following months as we get closer to time. But you look at some of the hires that Steve Sarkisian has made, how he's compiled his coaching staff. Phenomenal hires. Kyle Flood, he brings him in as his offensive coordinator. If you remember, Kyle Flood, a former Rutgers head coach, and previously served as Alabama's offensive line coach just last year when Alabama won the national championship. So you're bringing in a guy as your OC, that solid offensive mind, worked with Nick Saban, won a national title, also has previous head coaching experience. He brought in Pete Kwiatkowski from Washington to be his defensive coordinator. If you know college football, you know that Washington for the last 6-7 years has had one of the best defenses in the country. Kwiatkowski at Washington has been their defensive coordinator or has served in some sort of defensive coordinator role for the last 7 years up in Seattle. And 6 of the last 7 years, Washington has had a top 40 defense. A top 40 defense, 6 of the last 7 years under Kwiatkowski's leadership. So, he's now coming to a Big 12, guys. You look at the hires here, a Big 12 that has known for their offense, a conference that the stereotype is if you're going to come play in the Big 12, you're going to put up some points and you're not going to play a lick of defense. And we always say, if you can be a team that, yeah, we know you're going to score, we know you're going to put up points, but if you can have just an average defense, you have a chance to win the Big 12 title. You have a chance to do that. If Steve Sarkisian's hire of Kwiatkowski can do that, we know that the offense is going to put up the numbers. We know that Steve Sarkisian is going to have a solid offense. Texas puts together an average, a slightly above average defense. Watch out. They're Big 12 title contenders, and there's no doubt about it. So a lot to unpack there, guys. A lot to unpack. Why Sarkisian's now in Austin, what he's done over the course of his career, why he's qualified for this job, and what kind of talent, and not just player-wise, but coaching talent that he now has on his staff in Austin. I think he's compiled a fantastic staff. So, having said all of that, what is our grade for this hire? What is our grade for Steve Sarkisian going into 2021? And if you listen to us for the last 10 minutes, I think you know what the grade's going to be. It's an A+. This is an A+ hire. To me, this is a home run hire. Texas, Tom Herman was a brilliant offensive mind too. Tom Herman was a solid offensive mind. He just clearly was not the right guy for the job. Questionable decisions here and there. I don't know if he was fully ready to take on a program as monumental and as massive as Texas. They're now trying to do something a little bit similar, but with a guy that maybe he is a little more experienced, a little more prepared for this responsibility. They're bringing in a brilliant offensive mind in Steve Sarkisian, a Saban apprentice, a Saban protege. He made great hires. He has a lot of great talent coming in. That's another thing, guys. Coaches sometimes have to go through a rebuilding mode. Texas might not and should not have to do that in 2021. So like I said at the beginning, this is an A+ hire. And Texas, guys, could be back a lot sooner than you think. And when I say that, maybe not 2021, but as early as 2022, you could see Texas challenging for Big 12 championships and maybe challenging more at the national stage as well. Steve Sarkisian is going to thrive in Austin. Longhorns fans, got to be patient with him. Give him time. There are going to be bumps in the road. But when you look at the grand picture, the grand scheme of things, this is going to be a hire we're going to be talking about for a long, long time. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. We have so much exclusive content for you to get you through this offseason on our website, thegridironexpert.com, on our Patreon account. Do not miss any of that. All of that right down there in the description. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.